Greetings, brave adventurers, and welcome back to the channel. Eric's UK here with another discussion topic. One of experience points versus milestones, and which is better? Well, the answer to which is better is entirely up to you. But I go back to the 1980s for my gaming. I started with Redbox D&D, Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay, first edition AD&D, all of which used experience points. In the 90s, we had second edition AD&D, which used experience points. And so on and so forth. We used individual experience points, as was intended, but it always had a problem. In D&D, at least, certain classes leveled at different rates. So you could end up with two characters who are level 3 and the other one being level 2 still, because he would take slightly more to get there. And it was a little bit of an imbalance. I kind of get that it was maybe part of a balance issue, but it never quite seemed right to us. Experience points are there to give you a sense of being rewarded for the actions that you do. You get experience points for killing monsters. In earlier editions of D&D, you got experience points for gathering treasure. I've even played role-playing games like Rolemaster, which gave you experience points per mile travelled. It's all very strange. But very rarely did role-playing games ever give you experience points for bypassing encounters. If you managed to sneak past that group of orcs, you got nothing for it. So players would go out of their way to attack every combat, to do every fight, to overcome every trap because they got experience points for it. And that never sat right with me as a GM. Likewise, you had a problem in reverse to an extent, where, let's say, we used to play with myself as the DM and 4 to 5 players, occasionally 6 players, depending on the game. And if somebody couldn't make it, what did you do? If they couldn't make it, they lost XP and were always behind. And if you gave them the XP to keep them up with everybody else, it's a little unfair on everybody else that did all the hard work. From what I recall, we used to just do the easy thing, saying that, yep, fine, you're up there with everybody else. Because it felt wrong at the same time to penalise them for maybe having to work or being ill or having a family or life emergency, whatever, being stuck in traffic. Come 3rd edition, talking early OOs, we jumped to 3rd edition D&D, and I can tell you now, by the halfway point of that system, by about 2004, 2005, we had changed to the milestone approach for 2 reasons, 2 primary reasons. One, it's so much easier to keep track of. If someone can't make it, it doesn't matter, they're not penalised, everybody levels together. 3rd edition and Pathfinder onwards, everybody had the same experience requirements to level their character. So nobody was kind of getting shafted. It just made it so much easier to say, yep, guys, you're all now level 2. You're all now level 3. Hey, Bob, you missed a couple of sessions. Your character's now level 9. Simples. The other thing was, well, actually, I'm going to say there's 3. I said 2. There's actually 3. The second one would be the party was no longer forced to deal with all those encounters. You weren't forced to go and fight those orcs or those brigands or those sprites because you were short 50 XP or because they were there and if you didn't do it, you didn't get the XP. Now, if you found a way to get past them, you went a different way, you managed to blag past them, diplomacy or bluff, you still achieved the goal. You still played the game, and it, all right, not so much for my group, but I think for many groups, it meant that the game stopped devolving into a game of kick in the door, kill the monster, take stuff. That's obviously there, but you weren't forced into it. You were still rewarded for finding another route further into the dungeon or the forest or whatever. The third one is this, and I think we copied this from I think Paizo's Adventure Paths Shackled City, which I've mentioned many times on this channel. When you've got a published campaign, it's much easier to say the party should be level 2 by the time they finish this chapter, they should be level 4 by the time they finish this one, and so on. If you do it by experience points, or you've got side quests which are going to give them experience points, sometimes you fall short, sometimes you're over that experience points total. It's much easier to say, hey, yeah, you guys can go do this. You can benefit from doing your side quest. You can benefit from doing something that is related to your background. It's a way in which characters having a background can still play a part of the campaign, but not destabilize the campaign by gaining too much XP from it. And you know that each chapter, how, as a GM, you know what encounters to have, what you need to tweak for your players, what treasures to give out. It becomes much easier, I find, to balance out a campaign by encounters, treasures, and everything else. Now, obviously, old school players like myself are probably, although I've changed, are probably likely to say XP is the way forwards. That's what it used to be. It gives you that sense of achievement that you did this. The rogue picked the lock, he gets the XP for it. The party kills the monsters, they get shared XP for it. But, my mindset has changed. It's now so much easier. There's no more there's minimal bookkeeping. You can just say, guys, you've done really, really well. You've got to the tavern, or you've rescued the princess or the prince, whatever. You can level up, ready for next session. On a little side note that's just suddenly popped into the old grey matter, we also used to have a problem when using XP of if you gave XP out at the end of the session or at convenient breakpoints for individual XP progression, sometimes you could end up with the party gaining far too much XP. Now, do you allow them to level twice? We ended up implementing a rule that said you could go halfway to the next level, but any excess was lost. Because otherwise you're leveling too quickly, and that was always a problem in some campaigns. Me personally, I think milestones are the way forwards, but that's down to the individual group. So what are your thoughts? Which is better, the XP system or a milestone system that just says you level up whenever? Let me know down in the comments below. Give me a thumbs up, yay. Give me a subscribe, also a yay. And I'll see you in the next video. Take care and good gaming.